Hi everyone, I welcome you to this lesson of mobile applications development course with Android. And in this lesson, we are going to look at the activity life cycle. Just like any other thing, even the activity in Android, it has the sequences that it will follow when it is being created and when it is being destroyed or disposed. So if you've ever done Java or C or C++, you will realize that the program execution will always begin from the main function. That is in C, and in Java it will always begin from the main method. So Android starts activities by calling the onCreate callback method. And every time this method is called, that means that an activity is being started. So there is a sequence of callback methods that are called to start an activity, and then there is a sequence of callback methods that are called to tear up an activity. So we are going to try to trace those activities, how they move, in that we shall see that an activity is being created or being destroyed. And to do that, we shall use the log.d method. So these callback methods are very many, but let us look at the main ones. And the first one is always onCreate. And the onCreate method is the first callback method to be called when an activity is being created. So every time I'm creating an activity, there is a callback method called onCreate that is being called. So then the next one is the onStart callback method. And this is called when the activity becomes visible to the user of the application. So then there is also another one called onResume, and the onResume callback method is called when the user starts to interact with the activity on their mobile device. Then there is the onPause. And in the onPause, because we all know that a paused activity does not allow any user input and does not even execute any code. So when the current activity is paused and the previous one is resumed, then that means that we shall call the onPause for the paused activity, and then we shall call the onResume on the resumed activity. Then we also have the onStop method, and this one is called when the activity is no longer visible to the user. And then we have the onDestroy, and this is going to enable the system to destroy the activity that has been running on the device. Then also there is the onRestart, and this is called when we are starting an activity after stopping it. So those are the callback methods that we are going to see how they work and how they can help to create and destroy and tear up our activities. So you realize that I am working in a project called Activity LifeCycle right here. And then when we come right here, we shall find out that we are having Java classes and our resources. So when I go to resources, I have an XML file called activity main, and then I also have a Java file called main activity. So these are displayed right here. Here for the XML file and the Java file right here. So we are going to try to trace how our activities are being created and being destroyed. So let us just create a small string that is going to help us to output a small word. And we are going to say string. Let us give it any variable name like b, and then we are going to assign it to just the word Android. And then we shall terminate the statement. So then from here, you realize that there is a pre-created method called onCreate, and this was created the moment our activity, the first one, which is called the main activity, was created. So right here, I'm going to call, like I told you before, that we are going to use the log.d method to display for us some text, which will help us to trace what is being done. So remember, we created a variable here holding a string Android. So I'm just going to bring that string here. I'll put a comma, and then I will press my shift and then put quotes there. So automatically there will be a generation of some string called MSG, and that is standing for message. So the message I want to output and is, you have invoked the, let us say, the on create event. So during our project, every time, oh, this was B, not D, and then we terminate. So when we run this, if our project is being created, in particular, I'm talking about the main activity, it will display this text here. You have invoked the onCreate event. So now let us try to put another method. In our method here, it is closing from here and it is opening from here. That means that we have to do that outside, because in Java we don't put a method inside a method. So it should be outside the method but inside the class main activity. So right here, I'm going to override some message. You will realize that every time I press the first letter, the code generation system will give me the next letter. So I'm going to use the same syntax, protected, void, and this is going to be on start. I'll give it empty arguments, and inside its body, I am going to call a method already existing, that is on start. So right here, after that, I want to also output something with our log.d, and still I will use the other string that we declared up and put a comma. Then I'll open my quotes, and as I told you, that string will be generated automatically, the MSG. Then I'll put in my message, and this time I will say, you have invoked the, this is on start, so we give it on start and we call it an event. Yes. So you have to remember to terminate, and that error will go. So we are going to do the same thing to the next one, which is the on resume, and we are going to take this very method here. Since we are using the same syntax, we shall copy it with Control copy, which is C, and then we paste with Control V on your keyboard. So then we are going to change this to on resume. So we shall also call on resume, and even we shall output that you have called the on resume event. Then also we are going to paste it again, Control V. Then we are going to do this time the on pause. We are using the same syntax that we found there already created on the onCreate method. So even here we are going to make it on pause, and right here we shall make it on pause. So let us paste again for another event that can occur, and this is the on stop. That is when our activity will no longer be visible to us, and I will say on stop. And then here I will say on stop. So then I'm going to call also to put a method for the on destroy callback method. So I'll say on destroy, then I'll say on destroy, and even here I'll put on destroy. So now we have our methods right here, from on create to on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, and on destroy. Now we are going to try and run our application, and we are going to be tracing the log messages in that we can see when is our application being created, when is it being on resume, when is it paused, when is it stopped, or when is it destroyed. So I will use a physical device, and this physical device I'm going to connect it. Then I'll click on the run icon, and then I'll choose this phone here with an API of 23, that is Android 6.0. So I click OK. And right here down we can see that it is running. Yes, and here we can see that Gradle finished. The Gradle build has finished in this time that is being specified right here. So we can minimize this. And right now we can try to trace our logs slowly, one by one. They are a bit many, but we try to trace them. Yes, right now we can see that when I try to close my application from the phone, it will show me right here that you have invoked the on pause event. And this is something that we did at this stage when we said you have invoked the on pause. And this happened when I pressed the home button on my phone. So you can continue to trace other events. Like right here, I can see you have invoked the on stop event, and that means that my application is no longer visible to me. Yes, so when you continue to look inside these logs that are being printed, you will be able to view all our log messages that we have output for the users. And then like here we have the on resume, and we said you have invoked the on resume event. And then here we can see that this is where we created our activity, where they're telling us that you have invoked the on creator event, and this is where we created the activity. And then the on start event is also here. So this is just to help us to trace how our activity is being created and how it is being destroyed from the system. So you can keep around practicing this and then mastering it as you're waiting for the next lesson. I thank you.